Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me. My name is Nancy Abdu. I am the CEO and founder of the Australian Dermal Laser Institute, and thank you for having me in your lounge room this evening. So, just really quickly, as my usual recap, um, of what we do. So at the Australian Dermal Laser Institute, we actually provide all sorts of training on different modalities, everything from a bit tongue-tied. Right? Everything from IPL to laser hair removal, plasma fibroblasting, radiofrequency, needling, HIFU, fat cavitation, and so much more. We also offer face-to-face training in your clinic, and we also offer training online that is at your own pace when you want, how you want. So we'll just wait for a few more people to hop on. And while we do that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about our inflammaging workshop, which we have coming up. We've actually postponed it due to unforeseen circumstances from the 27th and 28th of February to exactly 4 weeks away, where I will have Tanisa Williamson and our guest speaker, Pia Kynok, talking all about stress on the body, on the face, all different factors affecting the skin and our body, and including myself talking about devices, what actually contributes to inflammaging or aging of the skin, what protocols you should be implementing, and what you shouldn't be doing that actually accelerates the aging of the skin with your device. Did you know that? Did you know that you can actually increase aging or premature aging with your devices if they're used incorrectly? Don't know if you've ever given any of that some thought. So join us. The details are on our website, so www.dermalandlaser.com.au. So if you've joined me on Instagram, hello, and if you've got any questions, just comment down the bottom there. And if you've joined me on Facebook, thank you for joining me. The recording will be available on Facebook only, not Instagram. So if you've missed out a little bit, or if you can't stay for the duration of the live, I'll try to make it nice and short and snappy, under half an hour. But if you miss any of it, or if you want to share it with any of your family and friends, then be sure to direct them to, or colleagues rather, be sure to direct them to our Facebook page, where the recording will be up well, endlessly, so forever, really. So anyway, today, episode 7 for 2023, I'm going to talk about infusion, and we're going to be focusing on electroporation and what it is, what we're infusing, how we're infusing, and all sorts of different things, talking about infusion and the different types of infusion as well. So anyway, let me just quickly have a look at one thing before I continue, because last week I didn't actually press record on Facebook, so hopefully this week it's all good. And I think we're all good. All right. So without a further ado, let's talk about infusion. And we're always looking for different ways, to enhance client satisfaction and also clinical outcomes. And there's so many ways to do it. But one way that, and it's a really simple way actually, is by infusing skincare or actives into the skin. So, like I said, my focus is on electroporation today and how it differs from all the different modalities. But first things first, why do we infuse products into the skin? If you're on Instagram, please comment down the bottom there. Why do you think we actually infuse products into the skin? I don't know if I can see your comments on Facebook, but if you can, please comment away. Why do you think we infuse products into the skin? You can tell me. And if you've joined me, welcome. All right, right, while you're typing away, I'll give you a little bit of a clue. So one way to actually enter past the stratum corneum is actually, we've got here, someone's thinking, think, quick. We're actually, there we go, Louise Mitchell, thank you. So we've got deeper penetration of products. So that is one reason why we actually infuse products, but it also gives us quicker results as well. We can use less active ingredients that affect the actual epidermis. So we can use something that's a little bit stronger by penetrating it deeper into our skin without having too much impact onto our epidermis, and therefore it reduces the side effects, and in most cases it's actually painless, except for microneedling, which is a little bit painful, or it can be painful. Mesotherapy actually is a lot less painful. And Tiffany says, thank you for answering, Tiffany, for maximizing penetration of our active ingredients. Perfect. So many different reasons, but really it is essentially to maximize the penetration without having too much impact on the epidermis, and also without reducing the efficacy or the actual integrity of the molecules of the product that we're using. So we can actually help infuse the skin for so many different skin conditions, and that includes, to help with acne, to help with rosacea, to help reduce inflammation, to help with elevate pigmentation or reduce pigmentation, to help with fine lines, and also with the texture of the skin or retexturization of the skin, for anti-aging, and of course for maintaining good skin hydration and good skin health. The other good thing is when we're infusing, it is color blind generally. So I'm going to talk about all the different ways we can infuse product into the skin. But what I mean by color blind, different devices that we help infuse the skin with are usually color blind. So it doesn't matter what color or what skin type your client is, and it can be done on any skin age and skin health. So we're not necessarily worried about the skin barrier being impaired. In fact, what we do infusing for is to help with the skin barrier as well. So there are so many ways we can deliver actives past the stratum corneum, and that's probably the trickiest bit, because the stratum corneum is actually the biggest hindrance to delivering these actives, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is keeping out things that aren't supposed to be going into the skin, such as whether it's different products that are not carcinogenic but problematic to the skin, or bacterias, or it could be a number of things. However, to overcome this barrier, there's different approaches that have been founded by different research and different techniques, including both physical and chemical permeation enhancers. So there are chemical approaches of the skin, such as direct topical application, or there is the application of nanoparticle products. So the only thing is they actually rely on different accelerants and also different absorption promoters. Now, the effectiveness of topical or chemical approaches is going to depend on the size of the molecule, and as well as the actual active ingredient itself, and whether it can actually penetrate the skin barrier. So there is some limitation to topicals, and generally only a small percentage of topicals enter past the stratum corneum. So research and so many different trials have come up with a physical approach. So what do you think are the different physical approaches? What different devices are there on the market? Do you have in your clinic that you have found beneficial to infusing products in the skin? Type away in the comments. I'm going to quickly check on Facebook. Okay, so I can't see comments on Facebook, but that's okay. Beauty Mind Mill says sonophoresis. Yes, absolutely. I love sonophoresis, and different devices will have different, if you like, ultrasound frequencies, which I'll talk to you in a moment. Louise also says sonophoresis. Thank you, Louise. Dermapen, that's a physical, that's another way of actually needling. Yep, Louise is on fire tonight. I love it. What are other ways of infusing? There's a really old school way of infusing product into the skin. I have taught it. It's coming back in fashion, if you like. Electrocosmetology. Okay, so other ways such as electrocosmetology, electrocosmetology, or we've got microcurrent or iontophoresis. They're all galvanic. Louise, you are definitely on fire. I love that. So they are all different ways we can actually infuse into the skin. So with ultrasonophoresis or sonophoresis, what we are utilizing is ultrasound, and usually it'll be roughly within, say, 20 to 26,000 hertz, so that's 26,000 vibrations per second, to allow the penetration of product into the skin. So that ultrasound infusion, if you like, not only creates an acoustic streaming and permeation of the cell, but also creates tiny little cavities in the cell to allow better penetration of those products. So those little cavities in the cell membrane allows room for product to go in, and it affects the cells on that cellular level. Then, of course, we have a galvanic or iontophoresis, where it's a direct and a constant current, although very low level, to help infuse usually water-based actives into the skin. And it's using either a positive and a negative, or both positive and a negative polarity, to help infuse product into the skin. The problem is it needs to be a water-based product, and it has to be either a negative or a positive polarity product for it to be received into the skin. And then, of course, we've got microcurrent, an oldie but a goodie. So that is a little bit different from galvanic iontophoresis, because galvanic works with the chemical reaction of the solution and the current, whereas microcurrent works on two main principles. One is the actual waveform, and there's multiple different waveforms, and how the delivery of the waveform is actually emitted into the skin. And the other thing is the intensity. So you need to have the right intensity and the right waveform, and of course the polarity too, to actually push that product into the skin. And it then also depends on the size of the actual product itself. So there's so many different variables with microcurrent, and all of that has to be considered to get uptake of those actual ingredients. So there are limitations. Now, there is iontophoresis, I already mentioned iontophoresis. With iontophoresis, there is actually different mechanisms that actually happens where ions are driven into the skin, into bypassing the stratum corneum. And I'm just going to quickly read this article here. So during iontophoresis, electromigration and electroosmosis are the predominant mechanisms through which ions are driven across the skin into systemic circulation. Electromigration is the term used to describe the repulsion of positively charged cations and anode and negatively charged anions by cathode. Electron fluxes are transformed into ionic fluxes through electrode reactions, and ionic transport is carried out through the skin to maintain electroneutrality. So that is a definite mouthful, but that is how basically your iontophoresis works. And like I said earlier, with similar to galvanic, or actually as a form of galvanic, you have to have positive or negatively charged product for it to be, absorbed by the skin. Now, that again will give us a little bit of a problem if you're not too sure of whether your product is positively or negatively charged. Then, of course, we have microneedling, which we all know what microneedling does. mechanically causes these tiny little channels into the skin, whereby you can actually infuse certain products into the skin. Now, these actives, they have to be approved for infusing or for penetration into the skin. Otherwise, you'll end up with problems such as, who can tell me what one of the problems is? Because my mind's just gone blank, of course. It'll come to me in a moment. So when we're microneedling certain ingredients, you may end up finding that there's hardening or fibrotic tissue coming about, and granules. Thank you. Granulation. Oh my God. Granulomas. There we go. Wow, for a Wednesday night, I'm not doing too well. I'd expect it on a Monday. Anyway, so with microneedling, we need to be careful of little granulomas. Now, granulation occurs naturally, and that's okay, but it's when we have granulomas occurring and they look like little hardened rice, granules under the skin, and they're really hard to break down. So it's really important that we make sure that the serum or whatever you're using is supposed to be infused into or needled into the skin. And then, of course, we've got electroporation. You may or may not have heard of electroporation, but what electroporation does is it actually causes temporary permeation of the stratum corneum, and it creates these tiny little pores in the cell membrane. And what it uses is high pulses of voltage with really short pulse durations. So it's on off, but it drives deep down the product while allowing this cell permeability to take place. And that allows different molecules, so different size molecules, to enter the actual skin cell itself, regardless of whether it is a positively or negatively charged molecule. So it doesn't necessarily matter whether you've got something, a product, whether it's a vitamin C or whether it's hyaluronic acid or whether it's essential, whether it's an EGF. It doesn't matter the size of the molecule, and it doesn't matter about the weight, and whether it's a ionic or non-ionic compound. So that reduces the limitation, and it actually extends our what we can actually infuse into the skin. So it's actually been observed that the flash, short, high voltage electrical burst in transdermal electroporation can actually be a lot more effective in enhancing the permeation, cell permeation, and actual transdermal delivery of your actives in many more cases, more so than iontophoresis. So what we find that is it does need a return pad, because the rate of transdermal delivery will depend on the amplitude of the actual electroporation itself, the pulse duration, and the number of electrical pulses, as well as the difference between the electrodes. So not all electroporation is going to be the same. And of course, not all electroporation devices are created equal. There are so many different variations, like I said, with electrical or energy output, waveform, and shape. And you also have to have enough energy for the cell membrane to be disrupted. If you're using a device that has a mediocre power output, you might not find that the permeation is high enough to allow for good cell absorption. So power is going to be really important. And now, how do you know? Obviously, speak to your manufacturer and perhaps ask them what the rate of permeation is, and find out if there's variations on your device. Is there a return pad on the device? So there's a few different variations on the actual devices. We've actually got here we go. How can we tell if the EP device is good? Probably, Tiffany, that's a really good question. So the electroporation, is this the needling device that you're talking about? I assume so. So what you want to do is ask the manufacturer, which I believe is Professional View Solutions, on their power output, and see if they have any studies on the percentage of the uptake, so they will actually know. But remember, with that particular device, you also are creating tiny little micro channels with your needles too. So you're going to have uptake with the little channels that we're creating, in addition to the electroporation, although it might be, I'm not too sure, but it might be a lower energy electroporation. There still is an electroporation component. And I say maybe it might be a little bit lower on the lower side because there isn't a return pad, but only they can tell you. Now, with there is a little bit of a thing happening, a new device on the block happening. As I wrap up tonight's Facebook Live, there was a lot of information. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm you all. So there is a sneak peek into our new device that we've got coming, and that is called the Apollo Duet, which I'm so excited about. So not only does the Apollo Duet have an electroporation applicator, which I have here. So not only does it have an electroporation applicator, which emits both hot and cold, it also has an RF applicator, which is multipolar too, with a built-in thermometer. So we do have a device, and it's really well priced, and it's also available on finance. So if you don't, or if you have been rather, looking for a new electroporation device, or a device that can infuse product without needles because you're worried about perhaps the anesthetic, or perhaps you're worried about the pain that needling causes, then you might want to consider an infusion device for your clients to enhance treatment outcomes and to drive your results even further. And like I said, not only does it have the electroporation handpiece, it has radio frequency as well. So if you're interested, make sure you go to www.Apollo Duet, so that's APOLO Duet, DUET, one word, apolloduet.com.au to register and receive 15% off for the first month that we're actually promoting this device. So we're launching it March the 1st, but if you register now, you'll get 15% off your device. And like I said, really well priced too. Hopefully I didn't bombard you all with too much technical jargon, and I left that nice and short and sweet for you. Next week, I will talk about radio frequency and how the different radio frequency devices differ. So monopolar, bipolar, and multipolar too. So have an amazing evening, and I'll see you next week, 7:30, same channel, same place, same time. Have a good night. Bye.